Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you so much for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember that we're now live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern and on YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on demand and as well on our YouTube channel. We have such a great show lined up for you today. In our influencer segment brought to us by Animoca Brands, this week we are featuring Dr. Sara Al Madani. She's a Real Housewives of Dubai cast member and founder of HalaHi.com. She's a renowned Emirati businesswoman, and today we are chatting Real Housewives of Dubai, finding her balance at home, the United Arab Emirates paving the way in the metaverse, and what her company HalaHi is all about. Now, in our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to us by ogpay.com, we're featuring Nina Bergman, an actress, singer, songwriter, and model. Today, we're chatting Hollywood, career, and finding the balance, and her new female-led World War II action thriller movie, Hell Hath No Fury. It's out now on Hulu and Amazon. In our business and buzz segment, we are featuring the awesome Donald Suxho, proud husband and dad, a two-time Olympian and director of volleyball at IMG Academy. We're chatting about the importance of sports in schools, how sports positively affects academics, and why he thinks interest in sports academies is growing. In our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames, we are featuring my dear friend Allison Josephs, founder of Jew in the City. Jew in the City aims to reverse negative associations about religious Jews by highlighting an approach based on kindness, tolerance, sincerity, and critical thinking. Today, we're chatting about the groundbreaking New York Times article about the dismal state of secular education in the Hasidic yeshivas in Brooklyn and the Lower Hudson Valley that elicited so much discussion all over social media. The New York Times investigation found that these private religious schools are denying students a basic education, and now top officials are voicing serious concern. Stay tuned for our influencer segment brought to us by Animoca Brands, featuring the awesome Dr. Sara Al Madani. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Tempus, the next generation of the engagement economy, allowing people to make money on their data and earn cryptocurrency for the time they spend on things they already currently love to do. With Tempus, brands will have the ability to pay you directly for interacting with apps, watching videos, playing games, and more. Tempus, the time is now. Engage and earn.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Animoca Brands as a worldwide industry leader in digital, entertainment, blockchain, gamifications, and digital property rights. Animoca Brands plays a key role in the future growth of the metaverse. Ranked by the Financial Times as a high-growth company, Animoca Brands creates a new asset class, GameFi economies, and a more equitable digital framework contributing to the building of the open metaverse. For more information and to become part of the excitement, go to animocabrands.com. That's animocabrands.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Today, in our influencer segment brought to us by Animoca Brands, we are featuring Dr. Sara Al Madani, my favorite cast member of Real Housewives of Dubai and founder of HalaHi.com. Now, the first season of the highly anticipated Bravo reality series Real Housewives of Dubai debuted this summer, although Sara is very much still single. She is a renowned Emirati businesswoman, a fashion designer, CEO of multiple companies, and the youngest board member of the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She's also a mother, a tech innovator, and one of Harper Bazaar Arabia's past cover stars. She was recognized with an honorary PhD in leadership and women empowerment for taking action to inspire women of all generations. Today, we're chatting Real Housewives of Dubai, finding her balance at home, the United Arab Emirates paving the way in the metaverse, and what her company, HalaHi.com, is all about. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Hello, hi.
Such a pleasure to have you on. Unlike the rest of the cast, you grew up in the UAE in a city called Ajman, if I read correctly, and later you moved to another city, Sharjah, for a government job. And after that, you made the move to Dubai, where you fell in with quite the glamorous squad of ladies. How did you end up on the show?
So, okay. So first of all, I was approached by a casting director. And I don't watch a lot of TV, especially reality TV, because I've started my business when I was 15. So I never had time to sit and watch TV and enjoy that kind of motion in life. I remember hearing about the show, growing up knowing about it. It's a legacy. So I got a call from a casting director, and he was like, listen, we are casting women for a show called Real Housewives of Dubai. And I'm like, yeah, right. This is a joke. And I just hung up. And then... And then I got a call later again, and they confirmed that the guy is real. This is a real casting thing happening. And I was like, oh my God, growing up listening and hearing a lot about the show, and now I'm going to be a part of it. So it was a very nostalgic experience. At the beginning, I was like, I can't do it. I'm running 9 companies. I'm a single mom. I cannot do this. And plus, it's like in my culture, it's not something that happens a lot. So it's not really welcomed. But then I was like, if God sends in my way, there's a purpose, there's a reason. So, never say no to a new adventure, to chances, to new opportunities.
I love it. This is there are no coincidences, and the universe gave you a clue, you took it, and that obviously started a new chapter for you. So in your travels as a businesswoman and entrepreneur, you have met a lot of people, for sure, who assume that Arab women are submissive and controlled. What do you say to that?
Not at all. I mean, if you watch the show and you watch how I am, forget the rest of the ladies. Take me as an example because I'm an Emirati. So if you look at how I am, you can tell that women are so not submissive. They're free, they're independent. 80% of the ministers, the government members in the UAE are all women. So we were brought up and we grew up with the leadership in the country teaching us that we are the backbone of society. So it's completely wrong. And I do understand why people have this wrong idea about it. It's just bad marketing. It's, the Arab world needs a huge PR campaign. And
I believe it.
Yeah, then this is why I took the show. When I took the show, I was like, listen, number one, I want to have fun. It's an adventure. Let's do it. I'm crazy. I'm spontaneous. The second part was I want to set an example to everyone in the West to show them that everything they heard about us, the stereotype, it's all wrong. It's completely wrong.
Demystify the stigma.
Exactly. And I hope I did a good job, because you can tell we're completely not whatever they thought we are.
Oh, I believe me, I've seen you and I've seen your work and I've seen your values. You do everything with a lot of dignity and grace. You're also very stunning and beautiful, and that definitely helps. But you're a mom and an entrepreneur. You have so many companies, Dr. Sara, that span various industries, including tech, fashion, and restaurants. What drives your investments, and how do you feel about the metaverse and Web 3.0?
So I've been a fashion designer for 20 years, became a restaurant owner. And after 20 years of doing fashion, my passion died. And because as a woman, I thought that I have to be in women industries, baking, salons and all that. But then I realized you do better in the places you think you don't fit, because it's a challenge. When I heard that the tech world was for men, I was like, I want to be part of that. And then I let go of fashion after doing it for 20 years in designing. And I took everything I ever made and I invested it all in technology. And this is when my tech journey started. I mean, it's undeniable what's happening to the world. Tech is taking over. And I think the tech world needs ethical entrepreneurs, in terms where I want technology not to take over humanity or humans, but to complete us, not to compete with us. A lot of the entrepreneurs in the tech world, what they want to do is they want to eliminate the role of humans and replace us by robotics, AI, and all that. So I felt as a human being, I'm it's a calling for me. I want to be a tech entrepreneur, but I want to be an ethical one. And yeah, and the journey is crazy. Like you said it, the metaverse world, all these things, everything that's happening. What's helping me a lot achieve my vision and dream is that Dubai looks at the technology world or like the metaverse world and all that as a very important platform. And it's thriving and growing so big in that. Like the country believes in it. Therefore, if you have a vision or if you're an entrepreneur or a startup, you get complete support to start your journey and like a strong push.
You know, Dubai, very true, is pegged to be the Web 3.0 and metaverse capital of the world. In fact, the Dubai government aims to create over 40,000 jobs in the metaverse over the next 5 years, as well as add, like, I think over 4 billion into the economy through metaverse and Web 3.0 development. You guys just recently had the Meta Summit, and that helped bring the top, Web 3 and metaverse companies from over at least 20 to 30 countries to meet investors and strategic partners in Dubai. So I know that they're definitely progressing very nicely, and you are in that perfect place to be able to make those investments. So I wish I was in your place right now with respect to where the world is at. Dubai feels like the land of the free compared to here in the US.
I mean, everybody says like the American dream, the American dream. Now everyone's saying, the Dubai dream.
The Dubai dream. Okay,
Yeah,
we have 6 minutes left. You launched HalaHi during the pandemic. How innovative. Since you launched it, you've had hundreds of celebrities on board, some of whom get like 30 to 40 requests a day, I read. And celebrities range from across the globe and include Turkey, Bollywood, Mexico, Hollywood, and European actors and influencers and singers and YouTubers. This is such an innovative thing that you did. Users of the app, how does it work? They request a shout out video from one of the celebrities on the platform, and then they receive it on their phones. How did you actually come up with this? And can celebrities set their own rates per video, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the celebrity has like a user interface where they get to pick the rates, they get to pick everything they want. They cater to whatever they feel comfortable with. But this idea is not something new in the market. It exists. But what we did is we studied everyone who exists in the market, the mistakes they're doing in terms of privacy, in terms of security, in terms of so many things, user experience. We took all of that for a whole year, studied all the mistakes they've done, and we refined it. Now on HalaHi, you don't just get to buy celebrity shoutouts. We just finished raising money, Series A. And what we're doing right now is you can go buy shoutouts, buy classes, buy minutes to talk to them. You can buy their merch, you can buy their NFTs. We create their NFTs for the celebrities. So basically, our slogan is My Celebrity, My Way, because you can get anything you want from a celebrity, even their used clothes, because they have a closet where they can sell their used things. It's like a one-stop shop for brands and consumers to get anything and everything they want from celebrities.
This is fascinating. So HalaHi is the only celebrity shout out app to take the concept further, right? By allowing brands to directly collaborate and engage with the celebrities on board. So talk to me more about this.
So we were the first platform in the world that created a membership for brands where they come in and they like pay a monthly fee to have access to all the celebrities, to eliminate the middle people. For example, if a brand wants to reach out to a celebrity and work with them, they have to go through 5-6 people. By the end of the deal, the celebrity ends up making 40% of the money only, because the money is shattered between so many middlemen. Right now, the brand is in direct contact with the celebrity, and it's like Tinder. They swipe left or right to deals.
I love it.
So it's like a direct contact with the celebrities. It solves every problem a celebrity has when it comes to these kind of things. And then for the consumer part, it gives them everything they want from a celebrity. And that's my young CEO over there, my future CEO.
I love this. This is amazing. Yeah. Look at your little life and that little beautiful, awesome soul back there. For those of you still listening, your son just graced our presence and walked right past our interview. He's adorable. Tell me, we have about 3 minutes left. What advice do you have for women?
The thing is, I've been hearing this a lot. A lot of women are talking about innovating in business, innovating in their jobs, innovating in so many things around them. But the truth is, innovation starts within you first. So basically, you need to free yourself from the stereotype, expectation of society, these shackles that the society puts on your feet so you can't move further in life. You need to first innovate internally so you can innovate externally. My advice is for every woman out there, free yourself from the expectation and watch magic happens. Because to me, I don't care. I owe no one anything. No one pays my bills. I work hard to do everything I do. And I've only achieved that by freeing myself from what people would think of me, what they expect from me, and what they want me to be. And my biggest key when it comes to growth and learning as a human being is when you grow and you mature and you're awakened, you do not learn new things. You actually unlearn everything you've been told to be, unlearn everything you've been taught in the past, and not learn, but discover who you really are. Because you are not what you were told to be. You are much more than that.
You are definitely living out your truth, my darling, definitely. And you're wise beyond your years. You know, I feel like you're a very old soul. You know, you have your honorary PhD in leadership and women empowerment for a reason, because you are very inspirational. So I definitely take my hat off to you for that. But I wanted to thank you for coming on, because you're definitely inspiring women across the globe. You are very, very entrepreneurial. You are a mother above all else. And that is the highest standards that you can hold, right? Being a mother. But more importantly, you are extremely, extremely in tune with the universe. And that goes a very long way.
You know, I love the fact that you get it. Not everybody gets it.
You know what? Great minds think alike, but more importantly, like energy attracts like energy. And that's why we found each other. Definitely check her out. Thank you so much for coming on. You're awesome.
Honored. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Definitely check out Dr. Sara Al Madani on Instagram and TikTok. Her handle is at Sara_Al Madani. Head to HalaHi.com. And remember, at the end of the day, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. That's something I live by, and she just made me really happy today. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. That was our influencer segment brought to us by Animoca Brands. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Coming up in our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to us by ogpay.com, we are featuring the amazing Nina Bergman, an actress, singer, songwriter, and a model. She was born in Denmark, and she's the granddaughter of Russia's greatest actor, Pavel Kadoknikov. Nina spent her early childhood traveling around Europe with her Russian gypsy grandparents. Her latest work includes the starring role Marie in Hell Hath No Fury, playing a French resistance fighter. Her performance in Assassin X earned her the Honorable Mention Award for Best Actress from the AOF International Film Festival for her role as the notorious Trinidad. Her other work includes playing the lead opposite actors like John Malkovich, David Arquette, Vivica Fox, and Jesse Metcalfe, to name a few. Today we're chatting Hollywood, career, and finding the balance. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi.
So nice to have you on.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
So let's run through this. At 14 years old, you receive a scholarship to the musical theater school Erding Academy in London. And a year later, you find yourself in Moscow attending the world famous Bolshoi Theater. And from there, you moved to New York City and you got accepted at NYU Tisch School of the Arts.
Yes.
Fellow Tischer. Talk about a path, but was this well thought out or was it serendipitous?
No, at 14, you know, all I knew was I had to get out of Denmark where I grew up, and my family life at home wasn't really there. So I just needed to get out. And then when I got a scholarship to school in London, I just left. And then I went and visited my gypsy Russian grandmother in Moscow and auditioned for the Bolshoi Theater, which is one of the best schools in the world for ballet. I was like, I can't say no to that. And then I just always knew I was going to end up in New York. And then at 16, I think 17, I went to New York by myself. And then,
The rest is history. So let's chat Hell Hath No Fury. It's
Yes.
out now on Hulu and Amazon. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Female-led World War II action thriller. It was released in the UK, I know, this past May, directed by the Jesse Johnson. He's a really, really talented director.
Yes.
And you filmed alongside some really impressive actors. Daniel Bernhard, that we know from John Wick, Louis Mendelor, we know him from Rambo and Last Blood, and Timothy Murphy, Sons of Anarchy, always a favorite. I love that show. Did you audition? Are you athletic? And did you do your own stunts?
Yes, I did audition. I had to fight for this part. They had another girl actually cast as the lead, so I really had to fight for this one. And then I do all my own stunts. I was an amateur boxer in New York to pay for school. I do mixed martial arts. I did everything that you see there.
I love it. I'm so proud of you. You are
Oh, thank
stunning,
you.
gorgeous, talented. I love empowering women, and I know how hard Hollywood could be. What is it like being the only female lead?
It was very interesting because it was shot during COVID, so it was a very small crew, and I worked with a couple of the guys before. Louis Mendelor, I did Doom Annihilation. It was shot in Bulgaria, and Timothy V. Murphy, we worked together. I played Wonder Woman with
Yes.
Jesse Johnson. Yeah, so I knew them, and they're method actors. So it was it was an incredible experience, and I was in my little bubble. Because I'm one of those, I stay in my bubble, especially for a movie like that. So I didn't really feel I had a makeup artist that was a female, that I brought in, one of my favorites. But I didn't really feel everyone was so professional, respectful. I didn't really feel that male-female thing.
Discrepancy, right? So the men treated you very nicely and equal.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very, very happy to hear that. How long were you on set for, and what location were you at?
Well, it was shot, during COVID. So we shot the main chunk in 12 days. And then we had to do like a lot of reshoots, and it was shot in Russia, and it was shot like all over the place. It was kind of pieced together because it was during COVID. So I had to run around with that super cool haircut for months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it.
I was like, please, just can we be done so I can I had to lose a lot of weight.
You look sexy, though. You look sexy.
Thank you. But it was, it feels very vulnerable to have all your hair chopped off, and especially because it was chopped off with scissors that they used back then. So it's like patches,
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, you're brave. You're brave. Let's move on to wage inequality in male-dominated Hollywood, so to speak. Do you feel that there is still a big discrepancy in wage inequality, especially in an industry that is so male dominated? Most lead roles are given to men.
Yes, I don't feel it so much with the pay and the money. I feel it like all of the cool parts are for males. You know what I mean? Being a woman who tends to like to play the more badass and stronger women, all of those good parts are male parts.
Yeah.
But there's very few and far parts in between. So when I read Marie like that, I mean, I had to have it. I have fought for it. I begged for it. I went to the table read. You know what I mean? I had to really fight for it because there's not a lot of parts for us.
Yeah, exactly. What about nepotism? I mean, I know your grandfather was a great actor. Nepotism has been prominent in Hollywood since its conception, with many actors, singers, and models getting a leg up in the industry due to their successful family members. And within the past few years, the idea of criticizing it rather than accepting it has become more in vogue, so to speak. Are you faced with more scrutiny in the casting process?
No. I mean, it was a Russian producer that was producing Hell Hath No Fury, so it did not hurt my grandfather was one of Russia's greatest actors. But, I normally don't pull that card and don't talk about it. And, hence why I went to school and I wanted to learn the craft, because I believe acting is a craft. And I never used it. There's some people that use where they come from a lot. I never mention it. I don't have his last name. You know what I mean? I want to earn it on my own. So I never had any of that.
Got it. And but you know what? That fact that you were so far removed from, first of all, he was not famous in America as he was in Russia, but separate of that, it also lives inside of you, and it has nothing to do with nepotism. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Nina. You know what I mean? Your grandfather obviously was good at what he did, a natural born talent, but just like you. And that's okay. That's something to be proud of. I get very angry when people, talk about nepotism in Hollywood. I have a daughter. She's about 6.5 years old. She's been in movies with Mel Gibson, with Jamie Foxx, with Rita Ora. She's been acting since a little baby. Sure, her father's a big Hollywood producer, right? But she also is very talented. She works hard for it. There's no child at 6.5 years old that has her skill set because she is in voice and acting classes, whereas her average, peers in school are not. So yes, I do believe that the talent is part of who you are, part of your history. So, but you have nothing to worry about with talent because your talent speaks for itself. So let's move on to the next thing. You announced your new movie at Cannes, Cold Meat, that you're starring in that one. What is that about?
It's a drama thriller. It's written like a play with a wonderful actor called Ellen Leach from Downton Abbey. It's French director. I'm not sure how much I can talk about it and give the movie away.
Oh, you don't have to. It's just what's the tag?
I play, against type. I've actually been All-American. A single mom who works in a small diner in a small town, and I'm kind of like down on my luck, and I meet Mr. Charming and all this stuff happens.
Oh, I love it.
I find my inner strength.
Okay.
One of the hardest movies I've ever shot. We shot in Canada, freezing cold, and the places I had to go. I just finished The Hell Hath No Fury, which was hot, shaving my head. You know what I mean?
Right.
One traumatizing movie, and then now this one.
This one. Oh, listen, I know what it's like to film in Canada. We filmed a movie called Georgetown in Ontario, in Toronto. Christopher Waltz directed that one, and he also starred in it. Annette Bening, Vanessa Redgrave. It was a great movie. But I remember we were stationed there, and it was cold. You're right. So I was going to say, how is family life, or is the focus on you at the moment? But with all this traveling, I would have to assume the focus is on you.
I mean, I still, family is very important to me. I was just in Denmark. I was in Denmark, Switzerland. And I try, even if it's for like 4 days, I try to go home as much as I can to stay grounded. Because I feel like if you stay, Hollywood can tend to, I don't know how to put it, your reality gets distorted.
Oh, for sure.
I need to go home and get grounded and remember where I come from,
Without a doubt, a doubt. So you like to promote vegan lifestyle and loving your pets and your animals and all of that. I love that about you. Does your vegan lifestyle help you stay fit, so to speak? Or I mean, I would assume that you need a lot of protein to be able to do the stunts and be as physical as you are. How do you balance it all out?
Well, I think there's a misconception about protein. We're taught that if we don't eat protein, we're going to die. And my philosophy is I eat what the strongest animals eat. What elephants, gorillas, whatever. They're all vegans. You know what I mean? They're the strongest animals on the planet.
Yeah.
So I think it's a myth. If I need to bulk up, I play like sometimes those video game characters and characters where I need, to put on those 20 pounds. I'll, throw in protein shakes and stuff. But other than that, I mean, I've never had a problem with it. I think it's a misconception. And
it is a misconception. I wholeheartedly believe people are just not educated, that they don't realize that you could find that same amount of protein in nuts, in fruits and vegetables, and certain, beans. And of course, there's a whole bunch of alternatives. But I I agree with you. I mean, I don't eat any red meat, and I'm pretty much pescatarian at this point in my life. All right, so let's play a little back and forth. We have about a minute and a half left to the segment, and we're gonna do like a little quiz. Okay, you're gonna answer quickly.
Okay.
Just it's gonna come off the cuff. Okay, so what's your favorite game or sport to watch and play?
Ooh, I'm amateur boxing.
Boxing. Would you rather ride a bike, ride a horse, or drive a car?
Ride a motorcycle. I ride bikes.
There you go. Okay, what would you sing at karaoke night?
Oh, I'm terrible at karaoke. Terrible. I would do a Bob Dylan song, so he can't sing.
Okay, there you go, Bob Dylan. What 2 radio stations do you listen to in the car the most?
In LA, you know, like obviously, you know,
iHeart.
Yeah, but you know, obviously, you know, that's a no.
And your own personal collection, of course. Now, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, that's so hard. I love food. That you can't do that to me. Thai food. I love Thai.
Okay, what's the worst gift you've received?
The worst gifts. Like clothes from my dad that he thinks is cool.
How many pairs of shoes do you own?
I'm a boots girl. I have tons and tons and tons of boots.
Love it. If you were a superhero, which you've played many times, what powers would you have?
Oh, I want to fly. I want to fly so bad.
Oh, me too. What would you do if you won the lottery?
Oh, charity work.
Oh my God, that's my answer too.
Educate.
What form of public transportation do you prefer? Air, boat, train, bus, or car?
My motorcycle. It's my
no, but you can't take the motorcycle. You got to pick.
Okay, my Thunderbird. My Thunderbird.
Your Thunderbird. Okay, last question. If you could go back in time and change one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, I would have been nicer to myself when I was a little girl. I was very hard on myself.
Oh, I love your answers. You are such a natural talent. We are at the end of our segment, my dear Nina, but I wanted to thank you for coming on because you are absolutely inspirational, fun to chat with, and really just unique and one of a kind.
Oh, thank you. No, you've been amazing too. Well, it's been a delight. You're awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Guys, you definitely have to check out Nina Bergman. That was our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to us by ogpay.com. Head to her website, ninabergman.com. Also check her out all over social media at Nina Bergman. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Business and Buzz segment, we are featuring the incredible Donald Suxho, proud husband and dad and 2-time Olympian. He participated in the Olympic Games in Athens, Greece, as well as the 2012 Olympic Games in London. He's played in some of the strongest volleyball leagues in the world. Today, he's the Director of Volleyball at IMG Academy. Now, IMG Academy provides a unique approach to academics, athletics, and personal growth that fosters confidence and prepares student athletes for college and beyond. Today, we're chatting the importance of sports in schools, how sports positively affect academics, and why he thinks interest in sports-driven schools and academies is growing. For teenagers with Olympic or NCAA athletic dreams, a growing breed of sports-focused high schools are offering the flexibility to place major emphasis on physical training and practice while continuing to pursue academics. These facilities are often called sports academies, differ substantially, with some offering higher quality academics than others. They include boarding schools that integrate training into the daily routine, day schools that focus on sports, hybrid schools that blend physical and digital education, and even online-only platforms. At the same time, education experts say the space is expanding. In the last year, they've seen explosive growth in families looking for a non-traditional education option for their student athletes. Last year, IMG Academy, which is a sports boarding school in Bradenton, Florida, welcomed its largest fall enrollment in the school's 40-year history. And over the decades, the Academy has developed an integrated approach to academics, athletics, and performance. Welcoming now to the show is Director of Volleyball at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, and two-time Olympian Donald Suxho. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you, Xen. Thank you. Glad to be here. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. So let's start with you quickly. You grew up in a small town in Albania, who actually many people didn't know. Only after the communist regime fell down back in 91, Albania was really put on the map. Your father was a volleyball coach himself. He dedicated his life to Albanian volleyball and coaching the Albanian national team for over 20 years. How has volleyball shaped you, Donald?
Well, thank you, Jen. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in small town, Korça, Albania, East. We were in communism for many years. Didn't know anything about the world, and in the 90s, as many people know, the whole Eastern Bloc fell down. So we went from communism to what I call chaosism, where those were wars, wars gangs, wars mafia, where truly I had to go to war. I mean, I had to go to practice as a 15-year-old kid with knife, just because I was afraid who's going to come behind me. And sports from young age kept me sane, kept me in the line, in the lane and in the line, right? I mean, not only I was healthy, I was confident as a young kid, but also I was very busy, with school and sports, a lot of trainings, and the ability to just not waste time and being alone on the street and being, with the teammates and, traveling, playing games, creating some really good positive relationships, kept me out of trouble, and then gave me ultimately an opportunity to come to America, to move to Boston, where, again, I was, as a young immigrant, a 17-year-old kid, I was trying to fit into the American culture, American lifestyle, working about, 5,000 jobs a day. But then sports, the kind of kept my mind sharp, kept my body healthy, and kept me going through those, kind of tough days in communism, in chaos, as well as a young immigrant here in US. And
it helped shape you for sure. In fact, a recent study from the University of Kansas indicated that high school athletes were 10% more likely to graduate than their peers who had never participated in sports. And athletes were also shown to have higher grade point averages than non-athletes. And lastly, interestingly enough, another study from the Institute of Medicine showed that kids who are very active typically perform better on standardized tests. What do you say to this? And why do you think there is a growing demand, not just across America, but worldwide for these sports academies?
For the sport, it's a pure reason that is, first of all, is structured and is disciplined, is a controlled environment. Many families and kids, people who are not involved in sports or, athletics, they don't know what to do, right? I mean, it's like the motivation thing, January 1st, you go to the gym, I'm going to lose weight, but then a month later, you stop working out, right? When you go to the sports academies, it's a very structured way. You know when you're getting yourself into it. You have coaches, you have teammates, you have peers. So every day is programmed. All you have to do is show up. And then as we know better, you do something small every day, you get better, you get stronger, you get faster. Then it becomes a positive habit. And then, a few months later, the next thing you know, you wake up at 6 a.m., you start running sprints and you are healthy, you go to class, you're confident, you're smiling, you're making friends. And it becomes a life-changing event, So that's why I think it's kind of that structure, control, expertise and authority that helps shape these young men and women,
you are 100% right. You're 100% right, because playing sports increases cognitive ability, exercise increases blood flow to the brain and activates our endorphins, which can improve mood and work performance. And sports teaches kids better time management. I believe that as a mom wholeheartedly. Playing sports has taught my daughter the importance of character. She plays tons of sports and she's barely 7 years old. And it really has led her to be more decisive. And participation in sports also builds that teamwork, like you said, and a sense of community, and being part of a team boosts not only just the child's self-confidence, but it gives everybody a gratifying sense of belonging. Let's chat IMG and sports academies. As the director of volleyball of the volleyball division, what is the biggest challenge facing parents and students when looking for sports academies, in your opinion?
I think, the biggest challenge is that as we are so interconnected with internet and social media, I think there's a lot of what we call, not transparent news or services being, put to these parents, and they get bombarded every day, like, by private academies or private coaches, or, saying like, hey, if you come here, we can, take your daughter or your son to the next level. Or they overpromise, underdeliver. I think that's the biggest thing for many parents and kids. They don't know who to trust anymore, right? And at IMG Academy, what we have experience, we have data, we have results, for over 40 years. So when we talk to the parents, they're very certain that when they come here, is what they see, is what they hear, is what they will get, 100%. There's no, two academies, and I've heard a lot of horror stories where parents have moved from Brazil to Orlando or to different parts of the US to these private academies, and to just find out that there's only one volleyball team, or there's only one sport, or there's
Right.
so there's a lot of what we call fake news out there, so we try to be as transparent as forthcoming with our parents and kids to make sure that, it's what we say, it's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And do you believe that it's realistic for a student who's very good, very athletic, very driven, shows decent promise, and wants to go pro to pursue this path? And how do they go on to make it to pro level, so to speak? And what kind of dent does this put in one's bank account?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like at IMG Academy here, our goal is to empower, inspire, and impact the next student athlete, the next best human being in life. Right? We know that sports is a minor fracture of your life. So, we know that there might be injuries, there might be a lot of obstacles up the road. But what we do here is we prepare kind of a holistic approach of preparing these young kids, right, for life, for sports, and then for their friendship, So when they come here, it's a very structured environment, aside from having great school, a great program, facilities, kind of technology to make them best student athletes. But what we invest a lot is a lot of leadership skills, a lot of nutrition skills.
And who is eligible?
What? Excuse me?
Who is eligible? I mean,
yeah, I mean, we have, from age 12 to 19, kids can come here and again go through our program and really kind of, take advantage of our services. As I mentioned, leadership, mental health. We have, yoga, we have nutrition coaches. So kind of a total human being. So when they go to college and when they go later in
they're
life,
ready.
They're prepared. I mean,
you have a 600-acre campus. IMG has more than 1,200 student athletes, like you said, in grades 6 through 12, and postgraduates from 49 U.S. states and more than 60 countries, which was fascinating to me.
Yep.
And between 2018 and 2020 alone, 44% of IMG students went to a university with NCAA Division I athletics, and 92% overall attended college. So IMG says, and I believe this, that it has produced more NFL players on 2021 kickoff weekend rosters than any other U.S. high school. What do you say to this?
Oh, I say it's what we say is what we do. I mean, I see it firsthand. The commitment of the students here, of the staff, of the leadership at IMG and Endeavor. I mean, it's top down, we're on the same page. We care about our client, our kids and the families. We provide top-notch services. And what we preach to our kids is all you have to do is show up, put your effort, hard work, and the rest will come, So, this past year, our baseball team put, I think, few kids in MLB as well. We have NBA players that come out of here. Now I'm excited to get our volleyball program going so they can go to D1 professionally and also, hopefully make the Olympic team, So we have kind of all the services for the, from a kid who wants to be in a D3 or just play sports, or a kid who wants to be the best in the world,
Well, they have a great director there. You are doing such a good job, and you're also, as an Olympian and as an athlete yourself, you have lived and gone down this path that you are preparing these very kids for. So I think it's amazing that they have chosen people at your caliber level to be teaching our children. That's incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's my passion. As I mentioned, my passion is to empower, to impact, and inspire our next student athletes, because I know, as we spoke, how important sports are. I know how important, another important part of sports, as from your daughter, and you'll see it, is build confidence. I think with the COVID, I think, with all these shutdowns, I think with all these obstacles that families and kids, most of them lost confidence. Most of them are having some mental health, health issues, and sports I believe is the only way to get out of it. Is the only way, sports activity, just be healthy, right? Be healthy, be
Yes.
active. It builds, especially at a young age, it builds a confident,
Confidence.
healthy body, healthy mind, and you can tackle any challenge in the world.
There you go. You said it. Well, we are out of time, and I just wanted to thank you for coming on. It was very enlightening chatting with you. You are full of great information and also fun to talk to.
Thank you very much. Glad
Thank
to be
you.
here.
You
Have a
got
great
it.
day. Bye.
Yes, definitely check out Donald Suxho, two-time Olympian in volleyball, director at IMG Academy. Head to imgacademy.com and check out Donald on the gram at DSUXHO and the number 7. Listen, guys, team sports require communication, both verbal and nonverbal. Developing communication skills are important for maintaining a functioning sports team, and those same skills can help kids succeed academically. Kids who participate in sports are more likely to complete a bachelor's degree program. And what's more, students who held leadership roles on their teams tend to achieve higher degrees and hold leadership positions in their careers. They don't have excessive free time, so kids who play sports are less likely to get involved with drug and alcohol usage or even participate in idle activities. And as a mom, for me, that's a big, big uphand. There's also more, all the children that are involved in sports are also more likely to find positive role models, including older students who can act as mentors, people like Donald, who are incredible coaches and directors, guiding them and helping them into making healthy choices. That was our business and buzz segment by Revere Securities. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Joining us in our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames. Today, we are featuring my dear friend, Allison Josephs, founder of Jew in the City. Jew in the City aims to reverse negative associations about religious Jews by highlighting an approach based on kindness, tolerance, sincerity, and critical thinking. Today, we are chatting about the groundbreaking New York Times article and about the dismal state of secular education in the Hasidic yeshivas in Brooklyn and the lower Hudson Valley that elicited much heated discussion all over social media in the last few weeks. Scandals that reinforce the many negative associations with Hasidic and Orthodox Jews, like the New York Times report at the heart of this interview, hit the papers all too often. Public opinion is at best uneducated about Judaism and at worst intolerant of Hasidic and Orthodox Jews. And after the New York Times investigation found that many of the private religious schools denied students a basic education, top officials are now voicing serious concern. And now New York lawmakers are calling for more oversight of Hasidic schools. Now, the New York Times revealed that many of the schools taught only rudimentary English and math and virtually no science or history. The Times investigation, which I am going to point out is a very liberal left-wing publishing outlet, showed that Hasidic schools appear to be operating in violation of state law by denying thousands of students a basic education. Again, this is what the Times is reporting. We don't know for a fact this is all accurate. Now, the Hasidic community, operates more than 100 all-boys schools across Brooklyn and the lower Hudson Valley, which have received more than $1 billion in government money over the last 4 years alone. Again, I question these numbers. Allison is going to help me break this down. The schools typically provide only 90 minutes of day of secular instruction, just 4 days per week, and only for boys aged 8 to 12. As a result, the students are failing to learn secular subjects at extraordinarily high rates. The Times also found that more than 99% of students who took standardized tests in 2019 failed, and that one was according to state data. Here to break it all down for us is my friend, fellow mom, and super soul, Allison Josephs. And I have to say that this particular interview has been pre-recorded in order to observe and respect the Sabbath. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
So these allegations in the story are deeply disturbing, and either way have to be addressed. Allison, what do you say to this very troubling report?
So I say there is truth to it, and the truth is more nuanced than its reporting. And I think the first thing to sort of clarify is that there is no Hasidic community. There are many sort of groups within the Hasidic world. If only Jews had as much unity as the New York Times claimed. And at the bottom of the article, they do make some note in passing. It's not a monolith. And yet the way it's presented at the beginning, the leaders, are doing this and doing that. So I think the first thing to recognize is that there's a sliding scale of better performing schools and worse performing schools. I think, I haven't gotten deeply into the data. I've spoken to some people on the inside who have some questions on the data the New York Times reported. Not that it's all completely wrong. One of the issues that came up with one of the community organizer that I spoke to is that he said one of the issues in the testing was that there are certain passages that are not culturally appropriate for kids to read for, like, the English test, for instance. So just like there's a sense of certain minorities need certain types of tests, like recognizing that the SATs might not be culturally appropriate to certain people that grew up in certain populations, ethnically. I think what the Hasidic community needs to explain is that in some cases, they're going to need, English passages that would be appropriate to their standards. Just, not everything that's happening in the world today is everything they want to expose their children to. And so that might be a little bit of the discrepancy in terms of the test scores that we're seeing versus what the kids could actually do. That being said, I think it's important to sort of frame this community and understand where they're coming from. Another thing that was mentioned in the article is that the Hasidic community is, a Holocaust surviving community. I think we need to be very clear what that means. I grew up as a non-Orthodox Jew, as a conservative Jew. What that meant was that I was mixed into the larger world. Some of my friends were the descendants of Holocaust survivors. Some were not. We mixed with everyone, basically. In the modern Orthodox world where I am now, similar type of thing. The Hasidic world is nearly 100% survivors or descendants of survivors of the Holocaust, and they essentially went into this closed system in order to self-preserve. And you have to imagine that with an atrocity, one of the greatest atrocities that mankind has ever known, happening only 70 years ago, and a community basically shutting down for fear of, being destroyed again, to self-preserve. You have to imagine that there are going to be different types of, dysfunctional behaviors that are going to grow in that space. That's not to excuse people not keeping the law or not being careful about, things like child safety. Child safety is such a basic thing within Jewish law, but I
just want to redirect it. I'm going to go into that child safety, but I want to go back to a quote because I want to be mindful of the time, by Mr. Nadler, because he said it's a paramount duty of government to make sure that all children, whether it's those educated in private or public schools, are provided a quality education. And he's the senior Jewish member of the House, whose current district encompasses a major Hasidic neighborhood, and who himself was yeshiva educated. And he said that it's our duty to all New York students to ensure that the law is enforced. So he claims that the story is deeply disturbing and must be addressed. You very, very eloquently gave me another perspective, and I see the numbers, and I see how a story like this could very easily be spun the wrong way. And the New York Times, they are pros. They do this all day, every day. They even publish this in Yiddish, which we'll get to that. But State Senator Julia Salazar and Assemblywoman Emily Gallagher, both Democrats who represent heavily Hasidic Williamsburg, Brooklyn, said they were particularly alarmed by accounts of corporal punishment in the schools and would introduce legislation to ban such punishments going forward. Again, this is what the report is claiming. But other leaders, including Kathy Hochul, our governor, and members of a powerful state education board, showed less concern. So here you have some leaders that are very concerned, and you also have our governor who doesn't show as much concern as you would think. Why do you think this is the case?
I mean, I think, matters of my expertise is more religion than matters of politics. I think politicians are motivated by all sorts of things. And I could just tell you the Torah's perspective on government is to be wary of them and to assume that, there's ulterior motives. So it's hard to know what the motivation is. I would just sort of bring it back to, I believe there has been real organic progress in all the areas of secular education and particularly corporal punishment, but I don't think that it's perfect. I believe on the books still in private schools, you're allowed to hit a child in school, and in many states, maybe half the states in public schools as well. That's definitely problematic. What we're trying to encourage leaders to do right now, because we've been in talks with people who are talking to the leaders, I think we have to both explain the good that's been happening organically, the good that exists in the community that is exceptional, that other communities don't have at all, and also take an honest look at where we can grow and where we can improve. And the way that you move forward from here is they're not going to change overnight. With this sense of self-preservation and survival that is so ingrained in the community, they're not going to become, everything that, New York City or, these different government groups want them to do overnight. What they can do, I believe, is get better. I believe that they can, raise the level. I believe they can, bring better teachers in, work to get better curricula in, which is already happening organically. And also make sure that there are policies and procedures across the board for child safety and for consequences if something that's not allowed to happen does happen. This is already happening in a number of Hasidic schools, but the idea would be to roll this out in a more universal way. Policies and procedures obviously are not a foolproof plan, but we're seeing, for example, if you take US gymnastics, this was an entity. They are not Holocaust survivors. They, do not have reason to try to be in survival mode, and yet there is a real thing that human beings do where we protect our institutions. We sort of keep things going as they were. And the way to change culture, take the Catholic Church, to change culture from within is really difficult in large institutions. It's hard to not be prideful. It's hard to admit that you've made a mistake. This time of year, actually, the days of awe for the Jewish people are exactly when we're supposed to be doing that self-reflection, to say, to hear what went wrong, to acknowledge it. Part of the process of tshuva, of repentance, is to admit it and then to commit to being better. So one of my complaints about the New York Times article is that I really feel like they dabbled in anti-Semitic tropes. They use language of, separatism and Jews as sucking public funds. I want to just clarify the fact that they said $1 billion in 4 years. That's such an arbitrary number. What if they said 10 years, 30 years? The number would have been even bigger. Why did they come up with 4 years?
Very true. And you know what? Here's an interesting fact. We have about a minute and a half left before we go to commercial break. But New York Republican, including Rep. Lee Zeldin, a lot of these Republicans defended the schools and criticized the Times report. To your point, and at a campaign event just outside of City Hall earlier this month, Mr. Zeldin, who is running for governor against Ms. Hochul, he's Jewish. He suggested that public schools ought to be emulating the values of Hasidic schools, not the other way around. Of course, this is all very conflicting. Again, the leaders can't get it right. They all have their own opinion. But then we even have Benaim Hamdan. He's the Republican candidate challenging Mr. Goldman in Brooklyn. Said said that the state regulations were taking a shot at critical race theory, which brings something very interesting up, and I want to get back to that after the commercial break. But while public schools are teaching CRT and sexuality, Hasidic schools should continue to have the right to teach Judaism. So I do believe that the right to preserve is extremely important in this particular case. And many state Republicans said they believe the government should not interfere with private religious education or a parent's ability to choose whether their children are educated and in what capacity. So, I do echo those sentiments. But let's go back to that Times article. Why do you think they also chose to publish it in Yiddish? And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you could take two different sides. On one side is you could say they want to reach to the most people they possibly could reach. And my organization works with former and questioning Hasidic Jews. So there is a range of how good the English is. But part of it is also the optics of it, to say, oh, well, your average person here can't even read in English. We have to put it in Yiddish. So I think the question is, how cynical are you on the motivation? Look, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. That's a Jewish value. I think that there is definitely an issue at hand that has to be dealt with. And I think also there is so much judgment put onto the community from outsiders, whereas other minority cultures are appreciated, their differences are celebrated. For Jews, it's kind of like you're gross, you're backwards, you're extreme, you have to get with the times. And I think that what we can do is to give the child the ability to have a career is the most basic value. This is in the Talmud, and a parent has to teach their child the trade to be able to support themselves. So that's something that, needs to be brought up in terms of Jewish values. But I think while we can improve that internally, we also want to be respected and appreciated like any other minority culture wants to be.
There you go. And with that said, we are out of time. Allison, you said it best. Thank you so much for coming on. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. That was our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames. Check out the awesome Allison Josephs. Her handle is @JewInTheCity, and head to her website, jewinthecity.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcoming back to our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames is the awesome Allison Josephs, founder of Jew in the City. And today we are talking about the recent New York Times article that painted a rather perhaps unfair picture of the Hasidic community and the education system. Now, one Hasidic politician, David Schwartz, he's a Hasidic district leader in Brooklyn, disputed reports of problems in the schools, including regular use of corporal punishment, saying, "I and my community, tens of thousands of caring parents and educators, are unfairly being paintbrushed due to the accounts of very few." Allison, what do you say to the accounts of corporal punishment and to his statement?
As far as I understand, and I've seen people, both ex-Hasidic Jews and currently Hasidic Jews, tell me that it's gotten much better. I think we need to understand where this community came from. A couple generations ago, so many of the teachers were Holocaust survivors. They had been beaten by Nazis. They came to their schools and there was no mental health available. Nobody was talking about what happened to them. So unfortunately, tragically, a couple generations ago, there was more severe, corporal punishment happening in schools. Although, to be fair, my father also was hit in school with a ruler. So that was just sort of more of the way of the world. The world in general, thankfully, has moved to a state of not doing that as much. And I would say the Hasidic community has followed. But really what we need to do to be able to feel really confident about these numbers is put in place procedures and protocols. These types of safety measures have been brought to some Hasidic schools. But what I would say for this politician who said that this is so little, the best way that we prove this and feel secure in these numbers is to make sure that these policies and procedures are everywhere and that they're being followed. And not only can we ensure more safety across the board, we can also prove that we're using high standards if, media wants to come and make an accusation. And again, using policies and procedures in corporate settings and nonprofit settings, this is a newer type of thing that's happening in general. It's a great way to use this as best practices, but these aren't, if you take the Me Too movement what's it called? Intimacy coordinators. These are sort of concepts that we're kind of just waking up to. How do we make certain industries safer and more comfortable? And so I think the world is in a very good place as we're moving towards these types of rules and regulations. And I think the Hasidic community has to follow. Improvements were made organically. Improvements were made with some policies and procedures. Let's get it across the board so that we can really feel confident that it's taken place everywhere.
Well said. Well said. Okay, so now another thing here. The groundbreaking same New York Times article that we're talking about also drew tons of interest, Allison, for a very different reason. And the investigation was published online in Yiddish as well. And several Times employees said on background that the Yiddish version of the article had garnered more readership than a typical English story in the metropolitan section. One said it got more than 150,000 page views in the first 24 hours. Why do you think the reaction was so strong?
So look, they're not usually doing stories like this in Yiddish, and working with the ex-Hasidic population, as my organization does, there are certainly people within the community that may dress fully Hasidic that are not fully happy with their lives. And this, first of all, was put into their language and gave them access. Now, some of those people reading may have been furious with the Times report. So it's not to say that every person reading,
right,
according to their metrics, is, marching down the street and in full agreement.
And waving it around. Yeah, this is the word of God, because it's not.
I think the thing about, as a content creator online, you don't know what your metrics mean. You know that it certainly got engagement. There was certainly a lot of buzz about this happening. I would say that there are probably some insiders that are saying, finally, someone is speaking on our behalf. We're frustrated. And other insiders are saying, this is outrageous. They're attacking us and criticizing us. As a person that tries to live in a space of nuance, I see both sides. I believe the community has so many beautiful things about it that should be appreciated. The Times would have done a much better job to spend some time really learning to appreciate the beautiful things that exist already, things that exist in terms of kindness, hospitality, nonprofit organizations, beautiful family values that other societies could learn from the Hasidic community. At the same time, that doesn't mean they're not above approach. At the same time, they're certainly where they could go, not to live up to the New York State values, but to live up to Jewish values. We need to make sure that our kids are safe, that we've built the best systems to protect their safety. And even if they're going to spend many hours a day learning Torah, which is the values of the Hasidic community, they need to be able to get around in the world and to be able to support themselves. There is more of a sense of entrepreneurship. There's a lot of Amazon businesses that are owned. There are a lot of people that go into business. So it's not as much of a college educated type of population. That's not what their economy looks like. And I think it does work for many people. But there's nothing wrong with learning some of these basic subjects so that you understand and even appreciate God's world.
Absolutely. You said it. And this is why we have you on, Millennial Mom. You are amazing. Thank you so much for piping in and being the voice of reason in a world filled with chaos.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're awesome. Guys, definitely check out Allison Josephs at Jew in the City. Head to her website, jewinthecity.com. That was our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Hi There, a creative community exploring the culture, craft, and science of cannabis. Hi There believes that we have a collective responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequities surrounding this plant so we can unlock its true potential for all. To become involved and find out what all the excitement is about, download the Hi There app from the App Store and Google Play. Hi There, HIGHTHERE.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could go to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also, remember that we're now live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern and on YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. That's right. You could watch all of this. All episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on demand, as well as in our VOD channel. Remember to check us out on YouTube. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.